Welcome to All Things Moore County, Moore County's weekly radio show highlighting the many facets of the Sandhills. That includes real estate, lifestyle, community and neighborhoods. And now from 4 Properties, here's your host, Bill Sahadi.
Good morning and welcome to the talk show, All Things Moore County. Dorothy, I don't know if you got a chance to attend the Christmas parade in downtown Southern Pines this past weekend.
Unfortunately, I didn't. I missed it.
Yeah, it's one of those. There are a couple of events during the year that sort of mark a celebration of the town. Springfest is one of them.
Yep.
The Christmas parade is another. Moore County is blessed with some very, very eclectic and fast-growing downtown areas, Pinehurst, Aberdeen, Southern Pines.
Yep.
And it just conveys a concept of a village. People love living here. There's a great spirit. It was on display this past weekend. And in this particular case, we're talking about the Southern Pines Christmas parade. So that spirit is kind of what we're going to be talking about today in the downtown areas, but today we're going to focus on the Southern Pines area. And I have 2 guests who I have a lot of respect for, who share that spirit that I do. Rachel Jurgens, people will know Rachel. She's been a past guest on the show. She's the owner of Pony Espresso. And she is developing a quadrant right behind Pony Espresso that people have seen called Red's Corner, which is in full bloom. I went out, Rachel, and shot some videos today. As a matter of fact, I saw you out there about an hour ago.
Yes.
You were out in the field speaking with one of your contractors, and I stopped up to get a cup of coffee on the way over here. And I went over there on Friday, and it's starting to take shape.
They're moving along now.
Oh, my, they really are. And we want to talk a little bit with you about your background, how you got here, what you've built. And I also want to introduce Curt Shelvey of CURT'S CUCINA. Curt, you also were on the phone on the show around the time Rachel was. At the time the pandemic really took foot here and people started to rethink their business, their hours, how are they going to meander through this pandemic, the COVID. You were on the show with Marva Kirk, as you remember.
Correct.
And Mark Elliott.
Absolutely.
And you were talking about the restaurant industry.
Mm-hmm.
Both of you guys share a passion for Southern Pines and a passion for what you do.
Absolutely.
Do you guys see the movie Field of Dreams?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so everyone has seen it. So both of you have this one thing in common that I see, and that is, you know, that expression, if you build it, they will come. You both made a conscious decision to invest in the landscape of Southern Pines and make a difference. Rachel, how many years have you been here in Moore County?
I moved here in 2006, and then I started the coffee shop in 2008.
It's been since 2008. It's something that, and you're from the West Coast.
Correct, from Oregon.
Oregon. If I say Oregon, you'll correct me. It's Oregon, right?
Oregon.
And you made a decision to call Moore County home, and you came here at first because of your affinity for equine activities.
Correct.
And from there, you looked around and said,
A need for a coffee shop that was a drive-through.
right.
And so there I created Pony Espresso.
And the rest is kind of history because it's become a real staple item. And Red's Corner is, for people like Curt and I who were here in the early 80s, we remember there was an Esso station on that corner, right? And the gentleman, did you know Red?
Oh, yeah, I knew Red.
You did know him.
Yeah.
So I remember speaking to him. I'd get gas here from time to time when I lived in Philadelphia. I would come down. A lot of people remember him.
Oh, yeah.
And you've been in touch with his family.
Correct.
And what is it that you're doing, big picture, for people who don't know? Because you're creating a lifestyle
Yes.
on that corner.
Yes. So the corner was a gas station when I first started the coffee shop, and then they tore the gas station down,
Right,
and it became kind of a used car lot.
right.
And then after that, I purchased it because of Bill Smith. He owned it at the time, and sadly, we
Yep.
lost Bill Smith. And at the time, I was trying to save my coffee shop, so I purchased what is almost 2 acres. And I started looking at it thinking, it needs to be something fun and beautiful, because for a long time it was pretty rough and not very attractive.
For people who maybe have a rough idea of where we're talking about, if you tell people it was where they used to sell the Christmas trees,
Yeah, exactly.
everybody remembered
Andy's Christmas trees.
Andy's Christmas
Uh-huh.
trees year in and year out. Where did Andy move to? Where did they move?
You know, Andy decided to stop selling Christmas trees, and I'm not sure. I do know he recently passed away.
Oh,
And so I think he was still in the area, and I think his family is too,
okay.
if I'm correct on that.
So you purchased the land from Bill.
From a gentleman named Richard Fry.
Okay.
Kind of a convoluted story, but I was lucky enough to get it. And as I sat there for a few years looking at it being nothing, I had visited home in Oregon where these food truck parks, there's 9 of them in my hometown. So I came back and thought, this is what I need to do. Make a spot where other locals can have something, food trucks can thrive and be kind of in a corral situation where people can come and get, all different flavors of food in one stop. And families can run amok, and dogs. And anyway, I wanted to make that corner special because it's sort of the gateway into Southern Pines.
That's exactly right. It's sort of like, the gateway into Southern Pines. So you are changing the landscape of the town.
I hope so.
You are. You are. Trust me. I drive through all the time. Every once in a while, I'll see Curt over there. By the way, thank you. He treated me to a coffee the other day.
I love Curt coming, and you, Bill.
When one of the ladies in the hut said to me, "Oh, your coffee's taken care of," my first reaction is guilt. Why? What happened? And he was on the other side, and that happens a lot, doesn't it? With some of your clients, they see through the hut,
Yep.
and they go, "Oh, I see someone I know." That's what's so cool about a small town.
That's what makes it a community that it is. I mean, that's exactly why we are the way we are.
Yeah, and it's really interesting. How long have you and Rachel known each other?
Oh gosh,
Oh, wow.
it's been.
Curt, probably since I moved here,
I'm
because
going to say about since you moved here. Yeah,
I had the
So
house that
it's
was the restaurant downtown.
correct. Yep, right over off of
Massachusetts.
Massachusetts, which I actually looked at one time when it became Cousin's Cupboard restaurant that was in there.
I know that. I know that building.
And that building had my interest.
Did it really?
Yeah,
as a
initially-
restaurant.
Right, initially before I even looked at the current place where I am now. But
We can get you close.
when I was looking at it, at the time, the gentleman that had it as Cousin's Cupboard was looking to pull out of there, and I said, "This is perfect size. I'll open up the back. I'll do outside seating. I'll
Right.
improve on the kitchen."
Right.
And I was real close to, and I talked to Rachel about it, but there was a military couple that were actually,
That's right.
if I remember right, that were overseas and were coming back to buy it.
That's correct.
And moving forward, I saw, the location I am now.
Right.
And when I first moved here, it was a Silver Bucket Oyster Bar.
Oh, wow.
That's correct.
And
correct.
George Tesaria owned the building.
That's right.
He retired, moved to Florida, and then the building became an H&R Block.
Oh, gosh.
I said, what happened to the restaurant? But in looking at that, I was teaching at North Carolina Central University in Durham at the time, after leaving teaching almost 10 years at Sand Hills Community College. And I looked at the building, and there was a Jake's Farmers Market restaurant was in there for a short, brief time, about 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
It was the grandson of the folks that actually owned the farmers market that used to be on Pennsylvania, where the Southern Pines Police Station now sits.
Wow.
So when he went out of the building, I went to the landlord, Pat Starling, and said, "I'd like to lease this building." And Pat said, "Yeah, I'm not going to lease it to a restaurateur anymore." And I said,
Right.
"Okay, well, here's my name. Ask anybody in town about it." And she did, and she called me back in an hour and said, "You want to come up and sign a lease?" And I said, "Sure."
Yeah.
So here we are.
From one extreme to the other.
one extreme to the other, and here we are 10 years later.
Yeah. You know what's so cool about a town like Southern Pines? I met Rachel's parents in your restaurant. You were sitting in there one day, and I was sitting at the bar eating, and I look around, and I didn't know she wasn't positioned where I could really see her, and her parents, I remember, they look so young.
They're
right?
amazing.
Oh my gosh! And they were in visiting from the West Coast, and the thing that is so cool, first of all, was that you were there, number one. And number two, it reinforces what I always thought of CURT'S CUCINA, was that it was a joint.
Right.
A restaurant, yes, but a joint.
Absolutely.
Like Cheers.
Right.
The TV show Cheers.
Yeah.
People walk in, and doesn't matter what age they are, everybody feels welcome, and people, they're folksy, they're happy, they chitter, they chatter, and you love it.
Oh, yeah.
So both of you have that common theme where you're both so passionate about what you do, and it's just cool. I mean, you know each other, and you're going to be working together at the food park, I think, right?
Correct. Oh, yeah.
It's my dream to have Curt there. He is loved in this town.
Big picture. Well, somebody said to me this morning, actually, about you, that I don't know if people knew that Curt started at Ironwood.
Yes, I did.
And that he was an excellent trainer, teacher.
Yeah.
This comes from someone who manages the place today.
Right.
And I don't know if Jackie.
Jackie.
Yeah.
Yes.
She spoke very highly of you.
Oh, I appreciate that.
And I think she's met your wife. Oh, by the way,
Yeah.
his wife has a beauty salon in town.
Correct.
So small business, you read about Small Business Saturday, shop local. You guys embody all that's good about the town, the merchants, the cooperation. And in talking to Rachel and to some of the young ladies who work for her, to a person, they all kind of say the same thing. She is so cool to work for. She listens. She understands. She's flexible.
Right.
And
To a fault.
right. And you know what? Take that fall to the grave with you, and you will have left the world a better place.
Cool to hear.
Because you have loyal, and they're all great young ladies. One of them actually used to work for you.
Correct.
Okay. Again, it's incestuous. I mean, it's crazy how you
I love
guys
that
are all
about-
intertwined. But they all speak so highly of you, and you have to juggle. I don't know how 8 people, 7 people you have.
I have 10, actually.
That's crazy.
And I keep them. It's so fun that they stay. Some of them have been there since, one of them just left who had been there since I opened, and she moved to Oregon.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
Well, who was that?
Megan.
Megan, yeah.
The blonde
Yep.
with the Mercedes
Yep.
that always had dirt on it.
Because we all are horsey.
She was always driving.
That's the
down-
horse people.
That's the
yeah,
horse
That's
people.
the way it
a
works.
horse girl.
Yeah.
She moved to Oregon. So you have, you've got a lot of loyalty.
And one of them, so Suda's daughter was 2 when I opened it. And now Suda's daughter works for me, Kendall. So she's 19.
Crazy.
She's going to Sand Hills Community College, isn't she?
It's just,
Yeah.
it's so fun to have that happen.
It is.
Well, let's start. Let's start with the food park, and then we want to move to the restaurant because 2 different entities.
Right.
So food trucks, your food park. You've got the building, and we took a video of it. It is coming together now more quickly than it was throughout the summer.
Yeah, and the building has been confusing for a lot of people because they
Right.
don't understand that I am actually building it for the coffee shop too, to have storage and an office and a place to meet and kind of get other things done, because in that hut it's tiny for 3 people.
But the kiosk is going to stay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yep.
So where will the food trucks park?
So behind the building, they're right now putting the gravel in and packing it. And then they will line up sort of like parallel parking and
Below the building.
below the building towards the railroad tracks.
Okay.
And that will be the garden and the outdoor setting that I'm trying to create.
Okay.
So there will be a fire pit, and my big dreams are a fountain, and I'm hopeful of all kinds of things. But I want to keep it back there so it's secluded in a way, and yet fun and, I don't know how to word it, compact and cozy, and not right on the road where you're hearing traffic.
Right.
So that was the way I set it up.
And it's still buffered from Morganton Road as you're going up the hill.
Correct.
And it's buffered in the back.
From the railroad tracks.
Right. So you really are only catty corner, I guess, to where Time and Place is. So tell me about the variety of food trucks. Who are you going to have in there?
It's exciting because I'm really trying to have a different flavor and not to have competition. So right now the 4 permanent trucks that have agreed to come on board are Grinders and Gravy, which is Curt, thank goodness. Prem, who will be a sort of an Indian fusion. And then Masarap, which is the Filipino-Asian truck.
Right.
And then Cookies and More, which will be the dessert truck. And they do cookies and cinnamon rolls and hot chocolate.
And what's the name of the company?
Cookies and More.
That's not
Cookies and More.
a brand that you're selling at the kiosk.
Nope. They're a brand new truck, actually. I think they've only maybe been stomping around for a couple months.
Yeah.
And they've hit the scene hard. They're loved.
So they're going to be everyday fixtures?
They're going to be 7 days a week.
Really? So you're going to, wow. Did you have the food truck when you were doing Grinders and Gravy or out of the restaurant? Before, after you switched from Curt's Cucina to Grinders and Gravy,
Right.
Did you have a food truck then?
No. So my concept was, I was looking at, after transitioning from Curt's Cucina to Grinders and Gravy, my idea or my concept was to say, okay, what does the future look like restaurant-wise?
Right.
So my thoughts were back and forth with open Curt's back up, especially with the abuse. I don't want to say abuse. With the feedback that I got from the community, it's like, Curt, open back up, please. We want Italian food. And I said,
Right.
listen, there's a ton of great Italian restaurants in Moore County.
Right.
They said, we just want your place back. It's, as you said, people would say to me, come on, Curt, this is like the Italian Cheers of Southern Pines.
That's correct.
And I understand,
That's
and
correct.
I felt that as well. So my thought was, you know what? At one point, I was on the verge of selling my building.
Yeah.
I was looking to sell the property
Yeah.
and walk away from the restaurant and say, I'm just going to do the food truck. And as I was contemplating that, Rachel and I were already talking about everything, and I said, I had looked at used trucks, but not everything fit what I wanted. I'm real particular about my setup, especially when it comes to cooking in my kitchen and so forth. So I'm having a truck custom made through Legions. So
Very expensive.
Yeah.
People have
It'll be beautiful.
no clue
I know.
what kind of investment.
it's about $100,000 on the low end, and anywhere to $300,000 to $400,000 on the high end. So right now, that truck is being designed so that it can solely sit there, and we're going to put an array of my grinders out. The menu will have all the grinders and then some new ones.
Wow.
Also, are going to have my tomato pies, which were the small, what I call my pizzas up in Jersey. They call them tomato pies. In New England, In New England, we had the small pies like that when I was growing up. And, of course, in New York, you have your New York style. So somebody said to me, well, Curt, is this a New York pizza? Is it a Chicago-style pizza? I said, no, it's my pizza. That's it. It's
Do you realize who the biggest winner of all this is going to be? Me.
Anyone who eats food.
My office is 500 yards down the road.
Totally.
I don't ever have to go out anymore, and except now I'll have short lunches because I won't have to drive so far. Let's come back in the second set. We're speaking with Rachel Jurgens of Pony Espresso, and she's in the process of developing Red's Corner, and Curt Shelvey of Curt's Cucina. This is All Things Moore County.
Good day, everybody. This is Chef Curt Shelvey here, owner of Curt's Cucina and Grinders and Gravy. Coming before you today, after much thought and much consideration over this last 16 months of the pandemic, want to thank the community wholeheartedly for supporting us on this corner and supporting myself and my family as we transition to Grinders and Gravy. And it has come to a full circle for us, and we've decided to go back to Curt's Cucina. I want to get back to making the Italian-American cuisine that I was offering this community for 9 years. It's in my heart, it's in my soul. I want to put that food out. I want to share what I've been sharing with this community for the last 9 years. So we're looking to work diligently towards reaching that goal by the end of September, first part of October is our game plan. And if you're interested, I'm looking for help. Please come by the restaurant, see me, pick up an application. I look forward to talking to you, meeting you. If you want to be part of a small Italian-American restaurant that is all about family-oriented and community-oriented, I look forward to talking to you. We can't wait to get back to CURT'S CUCINA and get back to doing the food we do. Grinders and Gravy is not going away. You'll see it down the road sometime in the future. I want to thank you all for supporting us throughout this entire pandemic and to the other side. We look forward to taking care of you. We look forward to serving you. We look forward to sharing our style of cuisine with this amazing community. Thank you, God bless, and have a great day. See you soon.
Welcome back to our second set of All Things Moore County. We're talking with Curt Shelvey from CURT'S CUCINA and Rachel Jurgens from Pony Espresso and Red's Corner, both as independent business people who are making a mark on the Southern Pines landscape, and they're doing it with a lot of heart. And again, I go back to that Field of Dreams movie, if you build it, they will come. I've been here just long enough to be dangerous, and I can see from a distance, things that are going on that happen. And I know that certain things stick and certain things do not. And you guys both stick. I mean, Curt, we had you on, we mentioned it at the first set at the time of the pandemic, and you mentioned it also in the first set about you stepping away from the restaurant. And now, today, you go into the restaurant, which has been redone, retooled, and his daughter, he's not just back in the business, he's got his wife there, his daughter, some of your loyal people who have come back to work for you. So what happened when you made the decision to sell the building, and then something happened that there was a shift?
There was a shift. As I watched Grinders and Gravy, come to full circle, and I said, "This is good, but this is not why I came into this building.
That's right.
Not that this concept that I'm doing isn't feasible, because it's one that I had in my mind, in the background, to hopefully take to another venue or another area to work on that outside of CURT'S CUCINA. But I was at a point where I said, it's going to be hard to get help back. It's going to be very challenging, with the labor pool and the new regulations and things of that nature, and also the renovation that happened in the building. And
you did a nice renovation.
Thank you.
Really nice.
I appreciate it. And so I was at a point, and I said to my wife, I said, I'm just going to sell the restaurant. I'm going to sell the property.
Okay.
We're done. It's time to close that door and walk away. And that was just shortly after the pandemic, a year out, and with Grinders and Gravy. And I said, I went to 195 for dinner one night. I left the restaurant early, and my wife and my sister was visiting from Scottsdale, and my wife and daughters were there. And I hadn't been out a whole lot. Most of the time I was concentrating being out at the restaurant. The only place anybody saw me was driving through Pony Espresso to get coffee in the morning, and then I was living in the building. But as I sat and I watched the interaction of customers, of the folks that work at 195, the Pilsen family, who I've taught two of the boys in the kitchen culinary arts at Sand Hills Community College.
That's so cool.
I've watched both the girls, both daughters,
they're great.
Grow up since they were
Very
in
impressive.
grammar school.
Very impressive. Ladies.
And one behind the bar, and one at the hostess stand to greet me when I came in, and my family was already there. And as I walked through the dining room, people were getting up from the table to come over and shake my hand and give me a hug and say, "Hey, chef, how you doing? It's great to see you." And these were customers of mine. And as I sat down at the table, my sister, who was visiting from Scottsdale, said, "What are you, a celebrity in this town?" I said, "No, it's just customers of mine that used to come eat at Curt's." And so I sat there for a while, quiet. And usually when I'm at dinner, I'm not that quiet. But with my family, my daughters and my wife noticed that. So we all left, and I went back to work to close up. And I got home that night, and the girls said, I'd already had in place a commercial real estate agent that was going to be selling CURT'S CUCINA, the property, and I had already accepted a job to teach, go back teaching culinary arts. at Pinecrest High School.
I didn't know that.
We were going to start. They were going from a foods program to a culinary arts program,
Okay.
which I have 12 years vested with the state when I was teaching at Sand Hills Community College. And I said to my wife, I'll just go teach, and I'm going to do this food truck, and I'm going to take it over to Red's Corner, and I'm going to do grinders and gravy there so that I can still do the food truck, still be involved in culinary, and I can take these kids that are in the programs and bring them over here and say, hey, listen, there are 5 food trucks here. Here are, different concepts and different chefs. You guys can do these
Great
apprenticeship
idea.
programs with them, work that, and run that with the kids. So as most of those kids are not going to be academic, a lot of them are going to be trade skilled.
Right.
So that was my thought going back to teaching. And then as I left 195 that night, and I got home and I looked at my wife and children. Of course, my wife and my children were devastated that I was selling CURT'S CUCINA, that I was selling the building and walking away. And I walked in and my wife said, hey, you're really quiet tonight. My daughter said, yeah, Dad, you didn't say anything at dinner. Are you okay? I said, yeah, I'm opening a restaurant back to CURT'S CUCINA. And by the way, I'm not going back to teaching. And they were all like jumping off the couch going, thank God he hasn't lost his mind. So, yeah, here we are, full circle. But what it did, Bill, it actually showed me what I had been missing after 9 years.
Right.
And when the pandemic hit us as hard as it did, it was almost like I took off the gloves and said, I'm just going to walk out of the ring and call it done. And that, walking into 195 that night and seeing that was kind of like somebody ringing that bell for me to come back swinging. So,
Rachel, when you get people who are very committed to the restaurant business like Curt, there's something paternal or maternal about them.
Absolutely.
And hosting.
Right.
And it's a way to, yes, earn a living, live in the town you want to live in, but you're not trying to be a Fortune 500 company.
It's in his blood.
Yeah, it's in his blood. But there's something very paternal about you. And you, I remember I was in there with my brother a couple of weeks ago. He was down from New York. And we were sitting there with Tony from Elite.
Right.
He was at the bar. And he turns around and we started all of a sudden now we're 3 having dinner. And he's so shy, by the way. He just won't. Yeah. And he shows me the meal that Curt made for him. As Tony said, he only makes it for me. I said, well, great. I mean, what are we, chopped liver? But my brother and I love going in there. And when you closed and he would come down, there was a void.
Right.
And so I think a lot of people, myself included, were ecstatic that you were reopening. But my question is, because between the two of you, your hours, both of you, are nuts.
Oh, yeah.
You are probably up at 4 a.m.
Basically.
Yeah. You are probably just starting to go to sleep at 4 a.m. The hours that you have to put in, the stress of your job, plus the food truck, how are you going to handle it? I mean, you don't
He's
have
Superman.
any rest.
So it's that and that's where everybody's like, why isn't the food truck over at Rachel's already? I said, you guys got to calm down. Let me get the restaurant up on run. So no, I've got some loyal employees that I have kept with me. I kept them during the pandemic. I did not, unfortunately, I lost some of my amazing restaurant family that I had with me from the day I opened CURT'S CUCINA in 2011. And helped them to look for or obtain other employment during that time. And they've all gone on to different avenues, different venues, different jobs, and some in the same business, but wanting them all to succeed. But the few core that I have with me, that stayed with me, that I kept throughout the pandemic and to the other side, these people are now getting ready to help me and be a part of what we're going to grow here.
Why did you switch gears and do away with Reservations?
In the beginning when I first opened CURT'S, I did not do reservations. And the reason I did not was because I wanted to be accessible to everyone.
Yeah.
And at that time in 2011, 2012, with the community, it was like, okay, Curt, you got to do reservations. We're all driving from outside of Monroe County to come eat with you. And I appreciate that. But what it did was it limited the amount of people I could serve and the amount of time that I was open. And from a business standpoint, a lot of people would say, no, that's not good. From a personal standpoint, it was like people felt that they had a special place to go every week, which I wanted. But it was to a limited amount of people.
Right.
So now I'm open, and so I'm doing the same amount of hours, but I'm doing a lot more folks because I want it to be accessible to everybody.
Right.
And there's a lot of people that are, upset because I don't do reservations. And I want folks to be able to come in there and have dinner because, in all honesty, anybody that's come, the wait has not been that long.
Yeah. Right. How is your takeout business?
It's great. It would be a lot better. And there's sometimes throughout the night I have to stop simply because since I opened November 2nd, there's myself and my sous chef, Harley Davis, who's been with me almost 7 years. It is only her and I cooking. I usually run a 5-man kitchen, and there's just 2 of us putting the food out. So when it gets to a point where I have an option to say, do I serve my customers that are in the dining room or do I do the takeout? So obviously the customers, and not that anybody's put in front of somebody else, but people have come to the restaurant to eat, and I want to make sure the folks that are inside the restaurant are eating. And if the folks want takeout, and I got to tell you, 95% of the people that have called, and my front of the house gal, Brandy, who will answer the phone, Brandy Sacco, and say, chefs had to suspend it for just a little bit if you'll call us back. Everybody's been great. They really have. They're like, hey, no problem. We understand.
Yeah.
And so thank you to the community for that because it's not that I don't want to do it. I want to be able to offer the takeout as well as the dine-in.
Right.
The problem is this machine can only put out so much. So once I can get that labor, and that's the challenge for me right now, Bill.
So does your wife, does she stay on you for your health, your sleep? I mean, if I were her, I would too.
Yeah, she does. She does. Oh yeah, she keeps me in check. She, but she knows,
He's a workaholic.
Yeah, people will look at her and say, I chew up stress when it comes on in the kitchen. It's when I'm in the kitchen and I'm on the line and I'm cooking, I'm in a zone that is just, it's my, that's my high. That's my take. I love being on the line cooking.
Just as a Cliff Notes version, real quick, you've simplified your menu a little bit,
right?
But not a lot,
right?
Most of the standby entrees are still available,
right?
Chicken piccata, veal piccata, the pasta dishes, but you've made it a little bit easier on yourself,
right?
I think a couple of desserts, but you're not going to sit there and try to enter a competition for choices.
No. It was, okay, Curt, what do you offer to the community? And say, okay, let's cover the staples that Curt's Cucina is known for the last 9 years. Thank you. But there's more that I want to do. People say, well, Curt, where are your specials? I just don't have time.
Right.
But that will come. That will come once I can get the labor force I need.
Entrees are $13 to $23, $24, basically, with 1 or 2 exceptions.
Right.
Very reasonable.
Very.
Yeah.
Are you a regular back again?
Yes, I've already taken the family.
Have you?
Oh, yeah.
So a couple of weeks ago, being as anal as I am, I had to order a meal for 4 or 5 people. So I said, I'll do them a favor and I'll order 4 or 5 days in advance. And they said, you can't do that.
That's just confusing.
Just call. They said, I'll never forget it. She said, just call at 4 o'clock
exactly.
the day of, and we'll have it ready at 5:30. I said, get out of town. Really? Yeah. And he put together, I gave him the choices, and he packaged it, and we're able to take it home, especially with the holidays.
Yeah.
I mean, that's going to be another aspect of your business. That people,
and that's what I did.
They want to stay home. They don't all want to go out.
Right.
Exactly. And that's what I did last Christmas. It wasn't grinders and gravy menu that I did at Christmas time. It was Curt's Cucina.
Right.
And I did that for a pickup on Christmas Eve.
Right.
So everybody pre-ordered, and then I had pickup between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. that day, Christmas Eve day.
Right.
And folks were great. I had a certain amount I could do, and I did that. I did lasagnas, and I did ziti bolognese, and I did bread and gravy and meatballs and sausage and tiramisus and antipastos. Right. And folks came out and they came out in droves, and we were putting that food out Christmas Eve last year, right up till 2 o'clock. Yeah.
Well, congratulations,
Thank you.
because my father used to say to me, if you get up every morning and your plate is full, you're a very lucky guy.
Amen.
Boy,
Right?
Yeah.
that's
Oh,
so
yeah.
true.
Absolutely.
Isn't that true?
So true.
We're going to come back in the third set. We're going to switch gears. We want to go back to Red's Corner, talk about some of the history and some of the plans, what people can expect. This is All Things Moore County. We'll be right back. Welcome back to our final set of All Things Moore County. Speaking with Curt Shelvey from CURT'S CUCINA. Everyone is so happy that he is reopened, and we're happy for you that you're doing what you love.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
And that's what you and Rachel have in common, as far as I can see. You both are in a situation where you're living where you want to live, you're doing what you want to do, and come what may. It's an adventure, right? And I know that's your attitude. And, whatever tomorrow brings, I'll be ready for.
Exactly.
And if I'm not, I'll accommodate. I'll pivot. I'll switch.
We can pivot.
It's a key ingredient to what successful people do. They just change is part of the process. Your vision, once you put Pony Espresso in, you purchased the land behind it. When you purchased the land, was it a purchase to hold, or did you have this vision for the food trucks and the park at that time?
Actually, a little of both. I had at one point even went to Bill Smith, who owned the land, and said, I have this great idea. I want to do a food truck park here. And at the time, he was not interested in doing that, which was no problem. So I just held tight. And then when I did get to purchase it, it was always in the back of my mind. That's
Yeah.
what I was going to try and do. However, the town of Southern Pines at the time was a little shy about food trucks. And actually, Curt was a huge help he was at the meetings with me. He helped support the idea and to get it passed that we could do a food truck park there. So lucky me.
And part of she just dusted herself off and she said, "I'll just persevere. I'll just keep going," like the Energizer Bunny.
Exactly. Yeah.
Plus, anything would be better there than dirt.
Most definitely.
Your vision is now coming to, hopefully, not fruition yet because it's a work in progress. But you have worked. You've had a great partner in First Bank,
Definitely.
working with you
Yep.
from day one.
Yeah, they actually were the ones who helped purchase the property. And then 2 years later, when I went back to him and said, here's another idea, will you support it? And John Meesamore at First Bank has been a saint for me.
Yeah, I mean, I've never been a banker. I've had very good experience with First Bank. There's something to be said for the caliber and the quality of the person that's coming in. Yes, it's dollars and cents, but it's also the person. And in a small bank like that, where it's eyeball to eyeball, you found a good marriage.
A great marriage.
And so they are your partners, right? You just haven't physically married them.
They own me.
But they,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I envision you maybe one day when things get established doing different charitable events or
Absolutely.
Bill,
Bill, my dream down there is to just make it a community corner. And
Yeah.
I mean, the food trucks are definitely the first start, but I want the Christmas trees to come back and pumpkins to come on and strawberries in the spring. And I'd love to have an Easter egg hunt and Santa Claus and just a place for,
right.
if in doubt, you can go to the corner and something's happening.
Your timing is really good because the demographics are following
Getting younger.
what you're laying out, right? And so the people will come for sure. I've seen some food trucks around town, and honestly, when I see them, they look to me, this is just me, like afterthoughts. Like, oh, we'll just stick a food truck here and hope, but this is going to be more like a village.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah.
And with there'll also be the beer garden, so I'll have the bar, which is down below with the food trucks, and there'll be 12 taps and ciders and seltzers and beer.
So Okay, so the building itself looks like a little house,
Mm-hmm.
and I took a video of it Friday. I took one again of it today. You're getting to see the backyard,
Mm-hmm.
how it's all going to be laid out. But tell me about the building. It's 2 stories.
It's 2 stories because of the way the land had the slope in it. I wanted to utilize where you could see it from up on the road in Morganton and Broad. Because if we had built just a 1-story down below, you would have just seen the peak of a roof. Because I needed storage for Pony Espresso, I thought, well, we'll put some little rooms upstairs, and then the bar will be like an outdoor porch, kind of an underground or daylight basement, if you can picture that. And then that's on the lower level, just walking right out to the food trucks.
So in your vision, on the lower level, you'll have tables and chairs. People will be out there having craft brews and okay.
And it's an eclectic. I'm doing very mishmash furniture, chairs, glasses. I want it to be like each food truck is different. The whole setting will be unique and different.
Okay. I know people ask you a zillion questions about it. Where do you think you'll be with it, let's say, by the summer of 2022?
Oh, gosh, I hope it's in full swing for
Okay.
sure.
Okay. So
I'm
then-
really hoping to open late January, early February
Oh.
at this point.
Okay, I thought you were going to say later. So you're going to be open for spring of 2022.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed.
Yes, I've been hoping for a long time now.
So coffee at the kiosk,
Yep.
beer, lounge areas,
Mm-hmm.
and the house.
It's pretty much all open. So there's covered areas, but nothing really closed in. So on a rainy day, it may be a little bit slower, but I really want the idea of everyone being outside and enjoying the environment and trees and a garden and great food.
And I saw all the walkways that you have going in. Tell me about those.
So the walkways, there's a few permanent ones right now just to kind of give it a flow. But
Okay.
as I see how people travel, I'll put in more pavers and stone. But I want to have a lot of grass, a lot of trees, and then some little pergolas and separate sitting areas so people can be private or be a part of the crowd too.
Do you foresee doing private parties?
I would love to do private parties, more likely in the back behind the food trucks. There's an area that I'll have set aside for big tents, for weddings, reunions,
Oh.
that kind of thing.
Oh, wow.
But for the front of the park, kind of in between the bar and the food trucks, I'd like to always keep that open and just never shut down for any reason so that it's always available.
And your hours will be?
11 a.m. to 9, so kind of just the middle of the day and not too late into the night.
What are you doing for lighting back there?
So the poles that I just put in, and I'm not sure if the video showed that, but I'm putting up just basically twinkle lights to keep it very moody and
Okay.
not too bright and yet comfortable.
So sometimes I drive by when I don't stop in for a coffee, and I'll see her out there. Her hands are on her hips, or she's like this.
I'm very important.
Right. And she's consulting with one or of how many contractors, right? Like a mother, maternal. Okay. And this is something, you have this opportunity. You're basically creating to have a blank canvas, and you're putting it together in your vision. And I don't see that you have a committee of 6 people with you. I see you. I don't see anybody else.
Well, I've had a vision since the day I started this process. Sadly, there's a lot of codes and rules and zoning things that I had to do. So in my dream, it would have been all grass and trees and bushes and beautiful landscaping. Because of certain things, you do have to have sidewalks and pavement and curbing and parking. And so with the 2 acres, it definitely has gotten small quickly. And I've tried to keep all the pavement up top where
Right.
people won't have to sit and see.
Do you see families,
I hope.
kids?
Definitely.
Yes.
Lots of a play area will start quite small just because the budget's getting tight, but I hope to have a whole play area and a place for parents to come have a beer and then sit and watch their kids have fun and not have to worry about them spilling plates or breaking glasses, because it's what I would love is dogs and kids running around.
So will the food truck still come in? They won't stay there permanently.
They will stay permanently.
Permanently.
The ones,
So they're kitchens on wheels
correct,
with a transmission.
correct.
That is, they're all six-figure. I mean, it's ridiculous.
They're little mini restaurants sitting on a spot.
So you have hookups for water. Everything is set up.
Water, sewer, power. They don't have to run their generators. They have gas if they want to switch over to propane or natural gas. I want it to be quiet so that they're not listening to generators and smoke and all of that. It'll be peaceful and fun and wild, I hope, all in the same time.
When's your truck going to be ready?
Legion's working on it right now, so I had to change up some things because Rachel, as we spoke, and now that there's going to be natural gas there, which I prefer to cook with, and,
Right, sure.
and some other options. The truck is gone from having an engine and a transmission to basically being a 20-foot by 10 by 8 food trailer that's going to roll in and drop and set up home.
So do you both have the challenge of finding suitable help?
Oh yeah.
Okay. Do you too, Rachel, or will you be working?
I'm lucky. The girls, I have plenty of them, and a lot of them want to kind of transition into both spots. So because we're serving coffee, beer it'll be so easy for them, to be honest, after what they've been doing.
One or two in particular who work for her, no names, they have the mentality of an owner.
Right.
They completely own what they're doing. Mm-hmm. Their responsibility is ridiculous. I watch them. Out of the corner of my eye, I'll pull up, and you can see who you can trust and who you can. Right.
They're unbelievable.
So you have a couple of really good engines.
Absolutely.
Right? Okay. Because hiring people these days is, for some reason, it's driving me crazy. It's hard to get qualified people.
Unbelievable.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Thank goodness I haven't had to look. And usually about the time I start getting nervous, someone pops in and asks if I'm hiring.
Grand opening? Are you planning?
I'll definitely do a soft opening so the trucks can kind of, get their feet wet and all of us can feel how the flow will be. And then from that point, I'll set probably 2 weeks out.
Compared to where we were in March of 2020,
oh gosh,
right, to where we are today, looking forward to 2022, the future looks bright. Possibilities that didn't exist 15 months ago. So, I mean, with that in mind, I'll wish you both the very best of luck. See you at Curt's.
Absolutely.
See you at Pony Espresso.
and hopefully Reds.
Yes, and we didn't really get as much of a chance to talk about Red, but some of the pictures you've sent that I think we're showing will drive home that corner of history that you're reinventing and preserving that spirit. So kudos to both of you.
Thanks, Bill.
Appreciate it.
I'm glad you guys both came on.
Oh, good guy to be with.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is All Things Moore County, everybody. Have a great week. Thank you.